You receive a message. It might be an insult, a provocation, or simply a text from someone who has taken you for granted. Your heart rate spikes. The instinct is immediate and overwhelming. You want to type back. You want to defend yourself. You want to explain your side. You are absolutely convinced that if you just craft the perfect response, they will finally understand. But you are making a massive mistake. You are falling right into the trap. What if I told you that your desire to reply is exactly what gives them power over you? What if the ultimate display of dominance, self-respect, and unshakable confidence is to do absolutely nothing at all? Today we are going to expose a truth that only the top 1% of men truly grasp. We are going to break down exactly what happens in the minds of others, and within your own mind, when you permanently cut off their access to your words. This is not about passive aggression. This is about total psychological supremacy. If you are ready to stop being a puppet to your own reactions, pay very close attention. And before we begin, tell me in the comments, who is the one person you regret giving too much of your time to? Modern men are trapped in a digital prison of absolute accessibility. We live in an era where everyone expects an instant reply, an immediate reaction, and constant emotional availability. Society has conditioned you to believe that leaving someone unread is rude, that walking away without an explanation is a sign of weakness, and that every conflict must be endlessly debated until a resolution is reached. But this constant connectivity is draining your masculine energy. It turns you into a highly reactive, anxious individual who is constantly jumping at the whims of others. When someone disrespects you, ignores you, or tries to manipulate you, your first impulse is usually to engage. You seek closure, you seek justice. But in the modern world, engaging with toxic or unappreciative people is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. True strength lies in recognizing that your attention is your most valuable currency. Once you understand this, the game completely changes. We're going to look at the exact mechanics of what happens when you close the vault and stop distributing your energy to those who have not earned it. The expectation of your reaction. Let us begin with the fundamental dynamic of human interaction. When someone sends you a message, especially a provocative or dismissive one, they are casting a line into the water. They are expecting a bite. They know your behavioral patterns. They know that if they push a certain button, you will react. When you stop replying, you shatter their entire predictive model of who you are. The script they had written in their head suddenly catches fire. The illusion of the final word. We all possess a deep, ego-driven desire to have the final say. We mistakenly believe that the last word equals victory. But here is the brutal truth that separates strong men from weak ones. The person fighting for the last word is actually the one seeking validation. By refusing to engage, you are communicating that the conversation is over, not because you lost, but because you no longer value the debate. You win by leaving the arena entirely. The immediate shift in power. Power in any dynamic belongs to the person who needs the other person less. The moment you type out a long emotional paragraph, you are handing over your power on a silver platter. You are showing them that they have the ability to disrupt your emotional state. When you respond with silence, the power dynamic instantly reverses. They are left holding the tension, while you walk away completely unburdened. Phase 1. For them, the assumption of delay. When you first stop replying, the other person rarely realizes what is happening. They assume you are simply busy, away from your phone, or distracted. Their ego protects them from the truth. They tell themselves that you will eventually cave, because you always have in the past. This initial phase is crucial. This is where most men fail. They hold out for 12 hours and then they reply. You must push through this phase. Phase 2 for them, the creeping doubt. As hours turn into days, their assumption of delay transforms into doubt. the ego begins to crack. They check their phone. They look to see if you have been online. The silence starts to become loud. They expected a predictable reaction, and your lack of response creates a cognitive dissonance. They start asking themselves questions. Did I push too far? Does he not care anymore? This doubt is the beginning of respect. The projection of their own insecurities. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you provide no words, no emotion, and no context, the other person has nothing to react to. Therefore, they are forced to fill that empty space with their own thoughts. In almost every case, they will fill your silence with their deepest insecurities. If they fear abandonment, they will feel abandoned. If they fear being insignificant, they will feel insignificant. Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting their flaws. Reclaiming your emotional baseline. Now, let us look at what is happening inside you. The moment you make the conscious decision not to reply, you will feel a spike of anxiety. This is withdrawal. Your brain is craving the dopamine loop of conflict and resolution. But as you hold your ground, something miraculous happens. Your nervous system begins to settle. You realize that the sky did not fall. You begin to reclaim your emotional baseline, independent of their existence. Controlling only what you can. This is the core principle of modern emotional mastery. You cannot control how someone treats you. You cannot control their texts, their mind games, or their lack of respect. The only variable in the equation that belongs to you is your response. By choosing not to reply, you are taking absolute control of your domain. You are building an impenetrable fortress around your mind. You are declaring that your peace is worth more than their chaos. Why anger is a hidden form of compliance. Many men believe that sending an angry, aggressive text shows strength. It does not. Anger is simply a highly charged form of compliance. It shows the other person that they successfully penetrated your armor. It proves that you care. Indifference is the only true opposite of love or attachment. When you do not reply, you are showing pure, unadulterated indifference. That is far more devastating than any insult you could ever hurl. The weakness of over-explaining. Have you ever written a 10-line message explaining exactly why you are hurt, only to receive a 2-word reply like, okay, or whatever? That feeling is the death of self-respect. Over-explaining is a plea to be understood by someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. A strong man knows his truth. He does not need to write an essay to justify his boundaries. His boundary is the silence itself. It requires no translation. How society conditions men to be reactive. From a young age, men are taught to fix things. We are problem solvers. When there is friction in a relationship, our instinct is to dive in, communicate, and resolve it. Manipulative people exploit this masculine trait. They create drama just to watch you scramble to fix it. When you stop replying, you refuse to play the role of the anxious mechanic. You let their broken machine stay broken. It is not your job to fix their dysfunction. The illusion of closure. One of the biggest lies we tell ourselves is that we need closure. We think we need one final conversation to tie up loose ends. Closure is a myth. It is a romanticized concept that keeps you tethered to toxic situations. You do not need them to admit they were wrong. You do not need them to validate your pain. Real closure is deciding that you are done. The moment you stop replying, you manufacture your own closure. The toxicity of keeping the door open. Leaving the communication channel open with someone who disrespects you is like leaving the front door of your house unlocked in a bad neighborhood. You are inviting chaos. Every time they message you, even just to check in, they are testing the locks. They are seeing if they still have access to your energy. By never replying again, you are deadbolting the door. You are removing their access privileges permanently. What your silence communicates without words. Communication is mostly non-verbal. When you vanish from their inbox, you are broadcasting a very clear, high-status message. You are saying, "My time is valuable. My attention is expensive. You have not met the requirements to afford me." This elevates your perceived value instantly. People do not respect what is given away for free. They respect what they cannot have. Your silence creates massive psychological scarcity. Respect is born in the space between interactions. If you are always available, you become common. You become like tap water. Nobody marvels at tap water. But when you pull back your availability, when you stop filling the gaps with your words, you become rare. You give them the gift of missing you, or, at the very least, the gift of wondering about you. Respect cannot grow in a suffocated environment. It needs the oxygen of distance. Silence provides that distance. The fear of being forgotten. The reason you struggle to put the phone down is ego. You are terrified that if you do not text back, they will simply forget about you. You fear that your absence will not even be noticed. But here is the hard truth. If they forget about you simply because you stopped initiating or stopped fighting, then they never valued you in the first place. Your silence acts as a brutal, necessary filter for the fake relationships in your life. Embracing the void. At first, the lack of communication feels like a dark void. You are used to the noise. But as a man pursuing higher psychological understanding, you must learn to become comfortable in the void. You must learn to sit alone with your thoughts without reaching for a digital pacifier. The void is where your strength is forged. When you no longer fear the quiet, no manipulator can ever use isolation as a weapon against you again. The dopamine detox of unresponsiveness. Every notification triggers a hit of dopamine. You are biologically addicted to the ping of your phone. When you stop replying to a specific person, you are essentially putting yourself through a targeted dopamine detox. You are retraining your brain to find satisfaction in real, tangible achievements rather than the empty calories of digital arguments. You are taking your neurochemistry back from their control. How manipulators thrive on your replies. Toxic individuals, narcissists, and emotional vampires do not care if your reply is positive or negative. To them, attention is attention. They feed on your frustration. It proves they exist. It proves they matter. When you give them nothing, you starve them. You deny them their primary food source. Without your emotional reaction to feed on, they will eventually pack up and move on to an easier target. Starving the emotional vampire. Imagine a parasite that feeds on your anxiety. Every time you explain yourself, every time you defend your character, you are injecting lifeblood into that parasite. The only way to kill it is to cut off the supply entirely. No warnings, no final goodbyes, no grand speeches about why you are leaving. Just an absolute, deafening halt in communication. Let them starve in the dark while you walk away in the light. The paradox of caring less to gain more. It is a strange law of human nature. The person who cares the least holds the most power. When you genuinely stop caring enough to reply, you paradoxically become infinitely more attractive and intimidating. People can sense when a man has truly detached. It gives off an aura of dangerous self-sufficiency. They realize you are not playing a tactic. You have simply outgrown the need for their validation. Silence is not punishment, it is protection. Many people mistake non-response for the silent treatment, but there is a massive difference. The silent treatment is a manipulation tactic used to punish someone into submission. It is done with the hope that the other person will beg. Strategic detachment, however, is purely for your own protection. You are not doing it to teach them a lesson. You are doing it to protect your peace. Their reaction is completely irrelevant. The difference between stonewalling and detachment. Stonewalling is passive-aggressive. It is a refusal to communicate in a healthy relationship. We are not talking about ignoring a good partner who is trying to solve a problem. We are talking about detaching from toxicity, disrespect, and endless games. A high-value man communicates clearly when it is warranted, but when disrespect is served, the menu closes. Detachment is the logical consequence of their poor behavior. Upgrading your mental filters. Every message you receive goes through a mental filter. For most men, the filter is completely broken. They let everything in. By practicing intentional non-response, you are installing a heavy-duty bouncer at the door of your mind. You start evaluating messages logically. Does this deserve my time? Is this productive? Is this person operating in good faith? If the answer is no, the message dies at the door. You move on. The realization that most messages do not matter. When you take a step back, you realize that 99% of the digital noise in your life is utterly meaningless. The urgent texts, the drama, the subtle digs, they are all dust in the wind. A man of purpose does not have the time or the inclination to swat at every fly that buzzes around his head. By not replying, you are acknowledging the insignificance of the distraction. You are returning to your true path. How urgency is manufactured. People love to manufacture false urgency. They text you and demand an answer right now. They want to rush your processing speed so you make an emotional error. When you stop replying, you destroy their fake timeline. You remind them that you operate on your own clock. You do not rush for anyone unless it is a literal matter of life and death. You dictate the pace of your own life. You are the master of your own time. Slowing down your reaction time. Even if you eventually decide to communicate with someone later, mastering the art of the delayed response is crucial. Stop being the guy who replies within 30 seconds. Let the message sit. Let it cool off. When you respond 24 hours later, completely unbothered, you demonstrate that they are a low priority. You show that your real life, your work, your gym, your purpose, takes absolute precedence over their digital drama. The power of the red receipt. Sometimes leaving them on red is the most devastating psychological maneuver you can execute. It says, I saw exactly what you wrote. I comprehended it fully, and I have decided it is so unworthy of my intellect that I will not even offer a single letter in return. It is the digital equivalent of someone yelling at you in the street, and you simply looking at them calmly, turning around, and walking away. Letting go of the need to be understood. The ego screams, but they have the wrong idea about me. Let them. Let them misunderstand you. Let them think you are the villain in their story. A deeply grounded man does not need the approval of people he does not respect. Your character will speak for itself over time. You do not need to defend your honor against the opinions of fools. Their misconception of you is their burden to carry, not yours to correct. You cannot negotiate genuine desire or respect. You cannot argue someone into respecting you. You cannot text someone into loving you. If the respect and desire are not given freely, they are not real. By arguing, pleading, and continuously replying to someone who gives you crumbs, you are trying to negotiate the unnegotiable. You must accept reality. Walk away from the negotiation table entirely. Silence preserves your dignity when words would only strip it away. The desperation of double texting. Let us observe the behavior of the other party once you establish your wall of silence. Often they will break. They will send a second text, then a third. This is the desperation of a crumbling ego. They are trying to find any angle to get a reaction. They might send a meme, pretend nothing happened, or lash out with an insult. Do not take the bait. The double text is proof that your silence is working perfectly. Watching their behavior change. It is fascinating to watch someone unravel when their usual tactics fail. The person who was cold and distant suddenly becomes inquisitive. The person who insulted you suddenly tries to act like your friend. You are essentially running a psychological experiment. By removing the stimulus, your response, you reveal their true colours. You see how chaotic their inner world is without you there to stabilize it. Watch, but do not engage. The inevitable return. In almost every case, when you genuinely walk away and stop replying, they will circle back. It might be weeks, it might be 6 months, it might be a year. But people are drawn to unresolved mysteries. They will send a message out of the blue. Hey, just thinking about you. This is the ultimate test of your resolve. This is where you prove whether you have actually grown or if you were just holding your breath waiting for them to return. How to handle their eventual reach out. When that message finally arrives, you must look at it not as an opportunity to reconnect, but as a test of your inner citadel. Do you feel the old anxiety rising, or do you feel absolutely nothing? If you have done the inner work, you will look at their name on the screen and feel zero emotional charge. You might delete the message, you might leave it unread, but you will not reply. The book is closed. Remaining unmoved by provocations. Sometimes their return will be hostile. They will accuse you of being arrogant or childish for ignoring them. This is the final extinction burst of their ego. They are trying to shame you into reacting. Understand this. Shaming tactics only work if you value their opinion. A strong man is immune to the shaming of those he has discarded. Let them be angry. Let them type their paragraphs. You remain a mountain, entirely unmoved by the wind. The peace that follows the anxiety. The initial phase of not replying is filled with friction, but soon a profound wave of peace washes over you. You wake up without dreading your phone. You realize that you do not have to perform for anyone today. You do not have to manage anyone's emotions but your own. This peace is the reward for your discipline. It is the quiet stillness that comes from reclaiming your sovereignty as an independent man. Recalibrating your personal value. When you stop giving your time to low-quality interactions, your perception of your own value increases. You start to realize how expensive your attention truly is. If you are not wasting hours arguing on your phone, what could you be doing? You could be building your wealth, improving your physique, or studying. You recalibrate your self-worth based on your actions, not on the validation of a screen. Why high-value men are rarely accessible. Look at the men you admire. Look at leaders, builders, and elite performers. Do you think they sit around agonizing over what text to send back to someone who disrespected them? No, they are utterly inaccessible to nonsense. They guard their time violently. To become a man of substance, you must adopt the habits of a man of substance. Unavailability to drama is the premier habit of the elite. Scarcity applies to emotional availability. In economics, scarcity drives up value. The exact same principle applies to human psychology. If you are always there, always replying, always emotionally available to everyone, your value plummets to zero. You must create emotional scarcity. Your warmth, your humour, and your insight should be reserved exclusively for those who have proven their loyalty and respect. Everyone else gets the wall. Removing yourself from the game. Life is full of status games, mind games, and emotional tug-of-war. The only way to win a rigged game is to refuse to play. When you stop replying, you drop the rope. The other person pulls back hard, expecting resistance, and they fall flat on their face. You are no longer in the mud with them. You are standing on the sidelines, watching them exhaust themselves. You have removed yourself from the matrix of their dysfunction. The liberation of walking away. There is a specific kind of freedom that only comes from walking away from someone you once thought you needed. It is a harsh, cold freedom, but it is pure. You realize that the sun still rises, your lungs still take in air. You did not die because you stopped talking to them. This liberation destroys the myth of dependency. You become truly dangerous because you know you can survive the loss of anyone. Building emotional calluses. Just as lifting heavy weights builds calluses on your hands, practicing intentional silence builds emotional calluses on your mind. You become less sensitive to the opinions of others. You become less reactive to rejection or disrespect. You develop a thick skin. This resilience will serve you in every area of your life, from business negotiations to leading your future family. You are training yourself to be unflappable. Silence as the ultimate display of self-trust. When you over-communicate, you are often seeking external reassurance that you are doing the right thing. When you choose silence, you are relying entirely on your own internal compass. You are saying, I trust my judgment. I know I am making the right decision by walking away, and I do not need them to agree with me. It is the deepest form of self-trust a man can cultivate. Trusting the process of detachment. Detachment is not a single event, it is a process. There will be days when the urge to check on them or send a message flares up again. You must trust the process, acknowledge the urge, observe it without judgment, and let it pass. Do not act on it. Every time you successfully ride out the urge without replying, you weaken the neural pathway of the addiction. You are literally rewiring your brain for strength. The shift from outward seeking to inward building. All the energy you previously poured into maintaining that toxic connection has to go somewhere. This is the turning point. You take that massive reservoir of mental energy and redirect it inward. You channel it into the gym. You channel it into your business. You channel it into your brothers and your community. The energy that was destroying you becomes the fuel that builds your empire. Channeling retained energy into purpose. A man without a purpose will always be a slave to his phone. He needs the drama because his life is otherwise empty. But a man on a mission looks at a dramatic text message as an annoying obstacle on his path. When you find your purpose, the decision not to reply becomes effortless. You simply do not have the bandwidth for it. Your mission demands all of your focus. Drama becomes an insult to your potential. How your focus sharpens when drama disappears. Imagine living a week with absolutely zero interpersonal drama. No arguments, no overthinking someone's tone. The mental clarity is staggering. Your focus becomes razor sharp. Problems at work that used to overwhelm you suddenly seem trivial. Your baseline level of stress drops significantly. You realize that the toxic person was acting like a virus operating in the background, draining your battery. The quiet confidence of the unbothered man. There is a specific posture to a man who truly does not care. He walks differently. He speaks slower. He does not rush to fill awkward silences in conversations. Because he has mastered the art of not replying digitally, he naturally masters the art of holding his ground physically. People sense this unbothered energy. It commands respect instantly. It is the aura of a king who knows his castle is secure. Redefining your social circle. Once you experience the power of cutting off toxicity with silence, your tolerance for mediocrity in other relationships vanishes. You start auditing your friends. You start auditing your romantic interests. You raise the barrier to entry. If someone brings unnecessary chaos to your life, they get cut off. You begin to curate a circle of high-value, stoic, emotionally mature individuals who respect your time. investing in reciprocal relationships. The days of one-sided effort are over. From now on, you match energy. If they are enthusiastic, respectful, and present, you give them the same. If they pull back, play games, or disrespect you, you withdraw instantly and permanently. You are no longer the pursuer of those who run away. You are the builder of your own life, and people are either privileged to join you or they are left behind. The maturity to leave things unsaid. Youth demands expression. Maturity embraces suppression when necessary. A boy wants to scream his feelings to the world. A man knows that some things are better left unsaid. Not every thought needs a microphone. Not every insult needs a rebuttal. There is immense power in looking at a situation, recognizing exactly what is wrong, and choosing to hold your tongue simply because words would be wasted breath. Accepting the misunderstanding of others. Let them create whatever narrative helps them sleep at night. If they need to tell their friends that you were the crazy one, let them. If they need to pretend they dumped you, let them. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we should not concern ourselves with the opinions of others, for they are completely outside our control. Your character is what you do in the dark. Their gossip is just wind. Your peace is worth more than their validation. At the end of the day, what do you truly want? Do you want to be right, or do you want to be at peace? Being right in an argument with a fool is a worthless victory. Peace is the ultimate prize. When you stop replying, you choose peace over ego. You choose your own mental health over their fleeting validation. You make the executive decision that your inner tranquility is non-negotiable. The permanent upgrade to your character. This is not a temporary tactic to win a breakup or a fight. This is a permanent upgrade to your operating system. Once you learn how to withhold your attention and master your impulses, you can never go back. You have crossed a threshold. You have elevated yourself above the reactive masses. You are now a man who acts solely on reason, logic, and self-respect, rather than fleeting emotional spikes. Recognizing the power of your absence. Your presence is a gift. It is an accumulation of your experiences, your wisdom, your humor, and your protection. When someone disrespects you, the ultimate consequence is the removal of that gift. Your absence is the loudest sound they will ever hear. It leaves a void that no amount of cheap validation can fill. You teach them your value not by explaining it, but by removing it entirely. The Stoic inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius spoke of the inner citadel, a fortress of the mind that nothing external can penetrate. When you ignore the provocations of the world, you pull up the drawbridge. You secure the gates. You sit comfortably inside your own mind, watching the arrows of their texts and manipulation bounce harmlessly off the stone walls. You are untouchable. You are safe. You are the absolute sovereign of your own soul. Embracing total indifference. Love and hate are two sides of the same coin. They both require intense emotional investment. Indifference is the only state of true liberation. When you look at your phone, see their name, and feel the exact same emotion as when you look at a blank wall, you have won. That is the goal. Not anger, not sadness, just a cool, calm, detached realization that they are no longer a part of your reality. The final release of the past. By never replying again, you are actively severing the chain that ties you to the past. Every time you reply, you drag the past into your present. Silence is the knife that cuts the cord. You let the dead bury the dead. You turn your eyes forward, toward the horizon, toward the man you are becoming. The past has nothing new to say to you. Your future requires all of your attention. The mastery over the ego. The ego wants to fight. The ego wants to scream. The spirit simply wants peace. When you conquer the urge to reply, you are conquering your own ego. You are proving that your higher mind is in control of your primal instincts. This is the essence of self-mastery. The man who can conquer himself is far more powerful than the man who can conquer a city. You are the master of your domain. The final realization. You never needed them. That is the greatest secret of all. The anxiety, the desire to text back, the fear of losing them. It was all an illusion. As the silence stretches on and your life continues to improve, you realize the ultimate truth. You are whole on your own. You were whole before you met them, and you are infinitely stronger now that you have left them behind. The silence did not destroy you. It revealed you. Silence is not a weapon you use against others. It is the shield you use to protect yourself. The moment you decide to stop replying, you step out of the chaotic, emotionally driven matrix that traps 99% of men. You reclaim your time, you reclaim your focus, and most importantly, you reclaim your profound sense of self-respect. True power is quiet. It does not need to shout to be heard. It simply observes, evaluates, and when necessary, it permanently walks away. Thank you for watching. If this message resonated with you, if you have felt the profound shift of taking your energy back, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. You are joining an elite group of men dedicated to absolute self-mastery. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what was the turning point for you when you finally decided to stop replying to someone who drained you? Stay stoic, stay focused, and never surrender your peace.